I have smashed my record transfer here at Union Berlin to sign this man, Lucas NMECHA. You might be sat there thinking that's a familiar name. Yeah, it is, because he is the brother of Felix NMECHA, the centre mid who has been tearing things up for us. Now, I did have my eye actually on Lucas here over the summer, but he signed a new deal with Wolfsburg. He didn't want to leave, and when it got to January, I felt like we were lacking a striker to really push us on, and I decided that £13 million was an amount of money I could stomach. He had 7 goals in the Bundesliga already this year, and today he's going to be making his debut. And that debut is against our local rivals in Hertha Berlin, a newly promoted side who currently sit 3rd in the league. Today's going to be tough. Today's going to be a big game. Today is Lucas's debut. I hope he scores a hat-trick. He probably won't, though. Yes, folks, how is it going? Welcome back to Union Berlin and Building Berlin. It is the 3rd of February in game. The transfer window has swung open and promptly swung shut. Of course, last episode we secured a spot in the final 16 of the Europa League, and today we take on our local rivals, who I didn't actually realise, but they play at the Olympiastadion Berlin, which is, of course, where we played last year's cup final. So no away day today. But that doesn't mean there's not stuff to talk about. Now, of course, it is February in game. The transfer window has opened shut, and we've done a fair bit in it, including a number of sales. The most significant, though, was this man. Dominik Heinz, the 31-year-old centre-back, has left the club for £6 million. Real Betis were sniffing around. He had a release clause of £6.5 million anyway, and I actually just decided that when they locked in the £6 million, I was going to have to take it. We have already signed a replacement, though. Elsewhere in the team, a player who I feel like I didn't talk about leaving the club, Yannick Habra, left to go to Cologne. Now, he actually left at the start of the season, but like I mentioned, I didn't mention it in a video, I don't think. He left us for £3 million. He's not doing well for Cologne, so that seems like it's a good bit of business. The only other first-team sale of note in January was Arp, who's left the club to go to Kaiserslautern. At 25 years old, he's had a couple of issues of injuries. There's a few younger attacking options in our team coming up through the ranks that I think I'd rather play over Arp. So in the end, we managed to almost get a return on investment. Hopefully he gets sold on for a bit of profit, then we will get our money back. The only other significant departure in terms of a player leaving us was Gruder on loan. He has gone to play for Hansa Rostock in the division below us. Got off to a really, really good start. 2 goals, 1 assist, and then he got injured. Good news, bad news. It's not a terrible injury. He is injured for 3 to 5 weeks. I don't think there's really a way to spin that as good news. Now, alongside the signing of Lucas NMECHA, a couple of other first-team players that, well, could be good for us longer term. The first, Vitaly Becker. We've signed from Schalke. He's 19 years old, had a release clause of £3.2 million. As part of this deal, he's actually going back on loan to Schalke for the next 18 months. He signed a 4.5-year deal with us, long-term investment. He won't get homegrown at club because he's already above the age of 18, and given the fact he's developing well and playing regularly for Schalke, I feel like a loan just makes sense for all parties. So we'll keep an eye on his development, expect him to come into the first team in a year or two. And the other man we've picked up is a player who I was eyeing up in the summer, who comes in as a replacement for Heinz. Of course, Heinz left for £6 million. Bissek here, who you can see highlighted in green, came in for the mighty sum of £3 million, which I don't think is too bad. Ultimately, he is a squad depth option, but a really good German centre-back, super good at important matches, also consistent, can play defensive mid. I feel like there's a lot to like, and for £3 million, I think he's just a great little squad player. 2 other signings just to be aware of, 1 in, 1 out. On the ins, Philip Cohn is joining us at the end of the year. Definitely said his name wrong. Please let me know how to say it down in the comments. This guy is part Swiss, part German, was playing for Salzburg, brought him in really to be a backup goalkeeper. Right now, Daniel is our second choice goalkeeper. He's a lot better than Daniel. This one does hurt a little bit to admit, but Julian Draxler has decided to leave the club and join Freiburg. I did give him a contract offer to stay around for another year, matching his current salary. He turned that down. Given the fact he's got 5 natural fitness, given the fact he's not been playing a load in the first team, only 1 start in a competitive game this year, I wasn't that desperate to keep hold of him. Still sad to see him go, though. Of course, the big deal of all of these is the NMECHA signing for £13.5 million. I didn't mention it earlier. He's on £67,000 a week. I had to give him a truly ridiculous contract just to be able to sign him. When I first started chatting to his agent wanted 100,000. So the fact we managed to negotiate it down is great. Would I have paid this for a player who didn't have a sibling in our team already? Almost certainly not, but you know what? We've signed him because we've got his brother already. I'm going to hope they have some magical connection together on the pitch. In some other first team news as well, Alex Scott has signed a new deal with the club. He's now on £50,000 a week, so a bit of a wage increase there. It sees his release clause that we did have a 60 million get evaporated, and in its place, a new release clause, £83 million to Champions League clubs. I wouldn't want to lose him for £83 million, but at the same time, if one day that was to be triggered, it would be somewhat hard to be upset. Anyway, that's a load of first team news taken care of. We probably should discuss the league where, well, as things stand, we are in 8th place, but we are only 1 point behind Bayer Leverkusen, and European football feels possible. I feel like I've been saying that a lot this season. Now, of course, last episode we took on Malmo and Wolfsburg, and as you can see here, to end the calendar year, back-to-back clean sheets in the Bundesliga. The first, a win against Eintracht Frankfurt. Felix NMECHA with the goal there. We followed that up with a 3-0 win against Freiburg. In this game, Tillman's goal, a possible goal of the season contender. I tell a lie, got the goals confused. It was actually the goal in this game here against Stuttgart. This was the first game back after the winter break, but it was another win in a row. We are already gathering some momentum. We'll watch this Tillman goal, enjoy it, drink it in. He took it down and, well, he whipped it into the top corner. One touch, bang. Yeah, that gave us a 2-goal lead. We held on to win 2-1. That was kind of a nice welcome back after the winter break. Unfortunately, since then, things haven't quite gone to plan. First game against Leipzig, we lost 4-0. Benjamin Sesko is very good in Football Manager, and in this save game, Leipzig are very good. They are 14 points clear at the top of the Bundesliga. They have run away with the title, it feels like, already. And, well, given the fact Sesko scored a hat-trick against us, you can see why they're doing well. The only other game we've played is this one against Gladbach. Now, on the face of it, 2-2 isn't a result I'm that happy with. We went down early in this game, and in fact, we went down by 2 goals early in this game. But despite being 2 goals down at half-time, got a bit shouty, and we managed to turn it around. We got 2 goals back. The defending, not great in the first half. This was one of those games where we didn't really change anything tactically. We just got a bit shouty and a bit angry. Drago played through Zach Hyen. He finished superbly, and not long after that, it was 2-2. Sadly, we didn't really keep the momentum going. We couldn't go on to get the all-important 3 points, but it did feel like we stole a result from nowhere. Felix NMECHA with the goal, the centre mid NMECHA. I feel like I've got to start calling them by first names. Felix is the centre mid. Lucas is the striker. Got it? I hope you've got it. I'm going to get them muddled up, so I won't blame you if you get confused at home too. Now, just looking at the finances of the club, they have been stretched rather thin to sign our new striker. Yeah, it's only £7 million in the bank all of a sudden. Our transfer budget sits at £0. We are technically overspending on the wages, but given it's by less than £1,000, I think it will be okay. Now, we have got improved training facilities on the horizon. They are going to be done in 2 weeks, but a couple of months ago, our youth facilities were upgraded. By the way, you can see here, all in all, board are pretty happy with how things are going at the moment, and rightfully so. And like I mentioned, youth facilities have improved, youth recruitment still struggling. All in all, though, I feel like things right now are kind of going fine. We're in the Europa League round of 16. In the Bundesliga, things are very, very close at the top. A win here against Hertha Berlin would be massive. Obviously, Dortmund have been criminally underperforming, and to be honest, the whole league has been underperforming. When you look at this here, Leipzig are running away with things at the top. Everyone else, it feels like, is capable of beating and losing to one another. The Bundesliga is ridiculously competitive, and really, you could probably throw Bayern Munich into the mix when you're talking about teams like that, which is kind of mad to say, but this season, they have just not been at the races. Now, as for our current squad situation, I'm actually in a really happy spot, I think, with how things are looking. In terms of our best 11, it's this 11 here, and in fact, for this game here, there's only a couple of injuries to worry about. But we have a starting 11 that I'm really happy with. But actually, the thing I'm particularly looking forward to with this team is some of the young players we've got performing nicely. Obviously, Adriano, who I did give the number 1. People keep asking, why did I give him number 1? Just thought it was funny. I don't really care about squad numbers, so if it annoys a few of you and gets you to comment, then it has done its job. But he has been developing really, really nicely. I know we've talked about Drago in the past. Adriano here, he's been at the club less than a year. I mean, he's been here, 6 months? He is improving a lot, to the point where I am starting to bring him on off the bench in the Bundesliga. And at 18 years old, he is now listed as our hot prospect. There was also a period last month where Da Costa was away on international duty at AFCON, and whilst that was going on, Bullet here came into play right wing back. And to be honest, the 19-year-old, when you compare him to Da Costa, whilst he might not be quite as good mentally, aerially, maybe even physically, he's not a million miles away, and he is starting to perform rather well. I appreciate, now that I've clicked on him and drawn attention to him, there is some red arrows next to him. But on the whole, he's been improving a lot. He is looking like a really good right-back option for us this year. And it is making me question how much we need Mehmet Aydin beyond this season. The 22-year-old was brought in to be this versatile youngster for £2.1 million. But at this point, when he's not already played for the youth team on the same day, Bullet just comes in ahead of him. The only current serious injury to a first-team player is De Bruyne, and by serious, I mean it's a red injury. He's got the flu. It's not serious at all. He's milking it a lot at home, mind you. He's been out for a week with it. He's a player who I would like to give a bit more first-team football to. I brought him on off the bench occasionally. Obviously, we have got this kind of factory talent farm kind of thing going on here, where we're trying to churn out players, trying to develop players, move on those that don't quite make it. On the whole, though, there's a handful of players here who I would like to, in this second half of the season, as long as it isn't going to compromise our league performances, give that a little bit more game time to. But like I mentioned, they are also playing for the under-19s, and as you can see, the under-19s already played today. It pains me to admit it as well, Leipzig not only running away with the Bundesliga, but also the Bundesliga under-19 Nord. Not sure we're going to retain our title, but right now, we're 6 points behind them. You can see some of the players we've just talked about as well in terms of goal scoring, average ratings, assists. Things are looking good here for the future. Anyway, with that all said and done, we're going to get into this game here against Hertha Berlin. A game that is rather significant given the fact it is our local rivals, and rather significant as they are currently in third place. They're a team that certainly weren't expected to be as high as they were. I'm going to hope they're going to tumble down in the second half of the season. Maybe that opens up a route where we could get into Champions League football in the dream cuckoo land that probably isn't going to exist. Like I already mentioned, Lucas NMECHA signed just before deadline day. This is the first game since deadline day. Today is his debut. Really hoping he's going to hit the ground running because he is our top earner by a massive amount. And if I've overpaid for a meme just because he's funny that he's related to his brother and for today's YouTube thumbnail, not sure that's a good investment. Elsewhere in the team, need to give a shout out to Martel. He is picking up centre mid really, really quickly. He was another significant signing really for us at £11 million. But so far, he's been putting in a good shift. Arian B alongside him has looked solid. On occasion, Arian B has been playing at left back. Ruslan did have a little injury lately, but he is good now. I am now looking at the left back area thinking that's maybe the area to improve most importantly in the summer, alongside perhaps another striking option of sorts. When we saw the team by recent form, the midfield has been particularly good. NMECHA has been absolutely incredible at centre mid. Alex Scott as well has been putting in some pretty good performances on the whole in the league. Obviously has just signed a new deal. Decided he was worth the £50,000 a week. He needs to prove that that new contract was justified. I think another player really worth mentioning, to be honest, is Tillman, who he is going to feel hard done by to be dropped from the team. But I think when we look at our final third on paper, it's fair to say that when you compare him and Lucas NMECHA, one of these players is better than the other. And whilst Tillman has been doing well, and I think can be a really good sub option for us, I'm hoping that Lucas is going to be that little bit more clinical, maybe help us grind out a few more results that we struggled to get in the first half of the year. On top of that as well, Lucas NMECHA was playing for Wolfsburg, who we beat last episode. I believe they're still fourth place, so we have taken a Champions League rival's top goal scorer away from them. I'm really, trying to sabotage them into dropping down the league a little bit. Whether or not that can work for us remains to be seen. For all I know, I might have overpaid horrifically, and they're going to mock us. Anyway, looking at the team here that Hertha Berlin have got, I think they've got Yusuf Poulsen up front. They've got some very good players, actually, this Hertha Berlin team. They are third in the league, which you wouldn't expect them to be, but with the players they've got on paper, they're an impressive little outfit here. Yusuf Poulsen, I think it's Yusuf Poulsen. Dominic Marlin at left back. He was one of the players that we were looking at, obviously, in the summer. Luca Bacchio, the Belgian winger. They've got players capable, the kind of players who are actually quite good kind of football manager match engine players. What are we doing at the back there? Thank you, Hadel, for making that save. That's not what I want to see early on. Just to confirm, it is Yusuf Poulsen they've got there. It is Marlon they've got out on the left. It is Luca Bacchio they've got out on the right-hand side. That is a very kind of scary front three. And with Amiri in behind, this is good. I'm almost jealous. 20 minutes played here, not exactly been a classic. We've had 73% of the ball, but it's not transpiring into chances in our favour. I'm actually going to get rid of the work the ball into box instruction. There is a highlight playing out here, and it's Hertha Berlin with the set piece that's been, well, half dealt with, but it's still not completely away from danger here. There might be some defending to do as the ball loops up into the air. Hadel, to be honest, as well, to claim that against Poulsen, who is a giant of a forward for them. Now can we make something happen out from the back? Of course, I've just got rid of the work the ball into the box instruction, so it'd be very on brand as before that tactical change happens, we get a goal. Unfortunately, NMECHA's been caught out in possession. Marlon is through, cutting inside, shanks it the wrong side of the post. We've been let off the hook there, but if you thought we were going to get respite, bad news, we're not getting respite. There's another highlight right away. Can we make something happen now the tactical change has taken hold? NMECHA to NMECHA. Lucas, what can you do? On his debut, the lone forward dancing forward, lays it back to Alex Scott. Forsby with the ball. Kraus lays it wide to Roussel on the left back. He's battling away, needs to be careful. He's on a yellow card. Amiri back to Mai. For a moment, I thought we were going to create something. We might get a chance here. Kraus has won the ball in a great area, bringing it forward the box-to-box midfielder. Just can't quite hold it up, but we are in an advanced area in this derby, pressing hard. NMECHA lays it back to Da Costa, back with Lucas NMECHA, Forsby, Kraus, trying to pick out a man through the middle. NMECHA's got there. NMECHA has scored on his debut. I do not know what they were doing at the back there. I think it was Mai, who was a player we looked to sign, who got caught out in possession. Maybe it was the long con. Maybe some kind of sleeper agent we've activated for this derby in Berlin. Forsby to Kraus. This ball through not ideal, but Mai just caught in possession, and from there, NMECHA, he pounced, he scored. Goal on his debut, worth the money already. Still a lot of football left to be played here, mind you. We're not going to get carried away just yet. Roussillon with the ball, lays it back to Arian B. Cross to Martel. I bigged up a lot of our players pre-game. Really am setting them up for failure, but hopefully they're going to live up to those kind of lofty expectations they've set for themselves in recent times. I know our last two games haven't been ideal, but we have looked good. We look good again here. NMECHA has linked it up with NMECHA. Maybe the Super NMECHA Bros is actually a stroke of genius. Here's going to VAR. Is it going to be the first of many goals where the brothers link up, or is it going to be ruled out? The answer is the latter, and I'll be honest, I did think he was onside here. Felix NMECHA at centre mid pulled it back. I'll be honest, the angle's inconclusive. The finish was good, means nothing though, unfortunately. Christiansen with a goal kick for Hertha here. Ball played forward. Martel wins his header, nods it down to Scott. He's going to lay it back, and Roussillon now has it. Zakharyan, Roussillon, back to Zakharyan. Kraus, a box-to-box midfielder, looking to switch the ball, and while pulling off the pass as well. Da Costa now with it on the overlap. Alex Scott inside, our creative spark in the midfield. Holding it up, whipping it in, edge of the box. Defending needing to be done here, as Hertha Berlin definitely struggling a little bit more. We've got rid of that work the ball into box instruction, and suddenly we're making, well, it feels like moves further into the final third. Still looking to play the ball around here really nicely, but the end product is what we're looking for. Passing is nice, goals are nicer. Da Costa, options in the middle. Cross is deflected. Zakharyan heads it, keeper parries it. Mai half clears it away, and it's out for a throw-in. Despite only having 27% of the ball, make that 30. Hertha Berlin have had a fair share of shots in this game, but we've not been seeing them as highlights, whereas I feel like a lot of the highlights have been us dominating possession and knocking it around with confidence. Very, very happy with how that first half played out. Lucas NMECHA doing what we've brought him in to do defensively as well. Both Martel and Da Costa at the back have been playing really, really nicely. Now we just have to keep it going for another 45 minutes. If we could get an away win here against the team in third, our local rivals, that would be pretty monumental. We have got a couple of players on bookings. I probably should consider taking them off sooner rather than later. One of them is Roussillon at left back. The other, well, is Da Costa actually with a knock. Do I really want to sub off both fullbacks? I do it often in games where we're further ahead, but this is not the kind of game where it necessarily feels comfortable. If we were to get another goal, maybe that would make the decision easier, but Hertha Berlin, you expect in the second half to come back at us strongly, and while Reese in the wide area, 20 minutes left, getting the ball in, Hadel makes a block. It was a very unconventional save. With it made, I'm going to make some changes. We're going to bring in Aiden. Okay, we've moved Arian B to left back. Martel's moved across. Bissek's come in for us. Aiden at right, sent back as well. And, well, the time is just whizzing by here. It's not been a classic by Union Berlin standards, but It's a win against our local rivals. Lucas NMECHA on his debut gets man of the match. Hadel gets a 7.3. And it might not have been pretty, but if you don't concede a goal, you can't lose a game of football. And we've proven that there. With that result, Hertha Berlin dropped down to 4th. As for ourselves, well, sadly, the win doesn't see us climb up the league too significantly. But with Bayer Leverkusen dropping points, we are now right behind Dortmund on goal difference, which, I mean, that could swing between now and the end of the season, but 11 goals is a pretty big margin. And maybe I'm going to regret not taking Da Costa off sooner. He is going to be out for 2 weeks. NMECHA picked up man of the match on his debut. I'm going to say it conclusively now, £13 million well spent, I hope. I mean, if he can get a goal of the game, for the rest of the season, that should as good as guarantee us European football, you'd imagine. Not expecting too much from the new striker. Goal a game, that's manageable, right? Okay, with that result there, I feel like our season is back on track. I feel like I've said that every game this season. We've been on a good little winning run in live commentaries, and then I go away and things don't go to plan. I'm going to hope they do go a bit more to plan in the upcoming matches. We have got Dortmund to play. I'm not going to do that one just because it's so close to the rest of our games. Instead, I think we're going to come back for Europa League action to start next week. That will also potentially be around the time of our youth intake, so there could be a fair bit happening next episode. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I hope you've been enjoying the Football Manager and F1 Manager content dropping this week. Over the weekend, there will be more F1 Manager videos. We will be back with more Football Manager action on Monday. Hopefully, I'll see you guys then. Hopefully, you enjoyed this one. If you did, leave a like. See you soon. It's me, Jack. I'll talk to you in a bit. I'm out.